Hola, hola, bienvenidos, welcome. I'm Anna Caban, and this is our first ever Contrology Lab. I am the brand ambassador for Contrology and also a certified Pilates instructor, certified by Ramona Krzyzanowska so many years ago. I'm really excited to be here today with our esteemed guest I'll introduce today, but I wanted to thank you guys first for joining us, one, on Halloween, and for almost 400 of you wanting to join us today for the first time that we've done this kind of event. So thank you all. Our special guests today are coming from all different places. So we have Carrie Shanafelt of Forte Pilates in Boise, Idaho, and she will be teaching you guys a little bit of some reformer or clarifying some of the exercises that she thinks kind of get misunderstood. And then we also have Sandy Shimoda coming to us from Vintage Pilates in Los Angeles, California. And Sandy is going to cover our baby armchair as well as the Ped-o-Pul. And last but not least, coming to us from Canada, we have Noam Gagnon. I'm going to try with the name there, from Beyond Pilates, and he is going to show off our amazing Cadillac and show you some of the exercises, again, that he thinks might use some clarification. As always, we have our very special guest, our CEO and founder and nice guy, Ken Endelman, without whom we could not have done this whole thing and Contrology altogether, and our partner in crime, Jay Grimes, who also makes all of this happen. They're all here today. And so after we do the exercises, we'll roll through the different instructors who will each show us about 3 or 4 of the exercises that they think are really important to clarify. We'll come back to Q&A. So I wanted to invite you to get ready to have your questions ready, or as they come up during this workshop, just write down any questions you have. There is a Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So if you click on Q&A, you can type in your questions. They will pop up to our secret team and back behind, who will toss them to me and I can pass them on to specific people or just to the group in general for them to answer. So get ready to ask your questions later on. And last but not least, guys, we love for you to share on social media. So feel free to take a shot now or take them throughout and use the hashtag ContrologyCrew. We would love for you to do that and stay tuned for a great session. And if you aren't here live, we're glad you've come back to the recording, which is available for everyone afterwards. So have a great time. I'm going to toss it over to Carrie, who's going to start on the reformer for us.
I apologize, my earbuds didn't pair, so I hope everyone can hear me okay.
Uh-oh.
From that, it is also an exercise that helps us move forward when we're doing our reformer. So the backstroke is an excellent preparation for which follows. So I want to look at those things real quick, and from there we're going to just kind of move forward and see how exercises do really lace together one exercise and many, many variations, right? So here we go, the backstroke. The very first movement we do, and at first I'm going to go a little slower than we would really want to go on here, just break it down, and then we're going to move. So I'm going to press my hands forward, so I maintain forward pressure in my handles, and rather than using that just to power up my arms, I'm going to use that work to help connect me up through my center. So right away, even in the starting gate, I'm in my back here, and it's coming down into my center. So here's that shading moment. Pressing my arms from my back, reaching my arms out. There's the rowing to and three. Now right here is where we're going to think of how we can get moving up through our teaser. And then pressing your handles to come in. So we use our back to connect arms toward back into our center, There's a strong reach forward. That's going to be important in our teaser. So now I'm going to do it with a little more of a flow so it doesn't feel stiff. One more, if you're doing it with me. Okay. Yeah. So now we're going to take all that work into our teaser. So the arm movements in the teaser are still from the back. But as we come up, I'm going to show this little moment. Here's our backstroke moment. It's also very familiar because, right, here's our 100. So one thing I think that gets a little lost in coming up off the box to the 100 is we try and go up, right? And if you think of just coming up, you won't have that connection with your straps, so you get stuck. And I see that often when people first get it. And instead of thinking going up to get the it has to be that so we can go out, so that that out picks us up. It also will help set you up to feel your middle pulling back. So you have a little two-way stretch in there. So now I'm going to do a whole series here using those concepts of my arms to my back, passing through my backstroke, and going out to come up. Well, I'm not going to talk much as I do this. Reach. And I keep reaching forward through my straps. And now on the way down as well, go forward more than thinking down. And then we have all these variations that can happen. Pass through to go out to reach into the teaser. We used leg movements. And then you can get up there. There are all kinds of things that happen. So you taking up here. We want to keep that on. So all this reaching outward also helps so that rather than being folded, right, we're more in my hips and kind of park there. I reach forward to pull my middle back, and then I feel my hips less and my middle more. So before we move forward into the next couple exercises, Jay, do you have anything to say about all that?
It was beautiful. It felt good just watching you.
Oh. Thank you, Jay.
Couldn't ask for anything more.
What was that?
I couldn't ask for anything more.
Okay. Well, if you have questions out there in the world, make sure you write them down, send them over, and you can go with them later. But after that, I'm going to move forward then. So now, I'm going to do the up stretch. So if you're out in the world doing it with me, take blocks away. So, the up stretch, we're going to take all those concepts, tie them into this. So the big thing I see happen here with a lot of learning the up stretch is placing the hands on the bar where we get back on the arms and power the movement from the shoulders. But if we want to reference back to what we did and use what we've done before the up stretch, you can even think of backstroke, that I'm going to use that connection of my arms and my back. But now I'm going to use it just to hold me up, okay? And it's going to end up looking, when you climb on there, or when you make your way to your up stretch, hopefully like an upside down teaser. So part of what's challenging here is we have less contact with the reformer. You have your feet, you push them down and back through the blocks. Same with the arms, so you can kind of brace yourself into your center. So The other thing is, one nice thing about the control one, there's so many. Nice thing about this is the bar is not padded with this thick pad where you can't quite get on your wrists. That's one of the reasons they took the padding away, so you can get up through your wrists more, rather than doing the exercise and feeling concentrated on pain in your wrists. Instead, you'll feel the good stuff. Okay, so rather than initiating the movement from my shoulders, I'm going to hold myself in place, and now my initiation point is lower, and reach out, get nice and long in my body, pull through my arms, round from my center. So we get again a little more flow, lengthens away, pulls through to round up. There's your upside down teaser. I'm using my feet against the blocks quite a bit. Rounding up, one more. And then, of course, if we went forward, you slide your heels down, you're perfectly prepared for the elephant. Now, the elephant and the upstretch are a couple of exercises I think about when I move into my next exercise down the road, which is the knees off portion of the knee series. You use your arms the same, puts in your middle the same, feet in the blocks the same. One problem that we encounter with this a lot of the times is losing this, right? It can very easily push you back and help you work from your center down here. A lot of times people lean forward too much. I'm sure you've seen that, maybe even done it. I think I did when I was learning it. And that makes you sink into your joints quite a bit rather than feeling connected. And this is it toward the end of a reformer workout. So hopefully we have put in the work to be connected. Okay. So the third one is the first one, right? Here's our first. Then we would go here. Third one, we're here. Use all those connections and really use your feet. Don't lose that. You push in the blocks. There's your third position for the knees off. Now, someone who's newer, are they going to be able to do what I just did? Probably not. But if you can set people up for success that they know how to power up their arms, use the blocks, they'll get there. They'll get there a lot quicker than if the feet are leaning off the blocks, right? Use the apparatus. It's there to help us work better in our body. So here I go. Here's my first one. We'll go the third. Boom. All I have to do is move my legs in and out. And of course, finish it. Yeah. You don't want to do 9.5, do your 10. Yeah? So, Jay, thoughts, concerns, comments?
That was all very beautiful, and I'm so glad you emphasized that connection in the back, because so often I see people doing everything with their arms and with their legs, and they're totally unrelated, and there's no, instead of the body, it's about the total body all the time. And that connection is so important that you get the back involved. Very well done. Thank you.
May I throw in a question that just came through? It says, why doesn't the head follow the body on the upstretch?
Why doesn't the head follow the body?
That's what I was told. Why doesn't the head follow the body on the upstretch? I'm not sure if you have any clarification, or if you just want to speak to the connection maybe of the head and the body a little more.
Well, I don't know, maybe I didn't do that part very well.
I think it's because you were talking, and it's kind of hard when you're talking because you were trying to make sure you were heard.
Yeah. So if your head should follow your body, so maybe I didn't get that part just right, but it should follow that round of your spine. I don't know, maybe my head came out because I'm talking doing it. I don't know. But if that's what they're looking at, then yes, it should stay with the body. And I don't know if what they mean here, I do see some people lengthen their head to come through. So if they are talking about that, it's not a plank exercise. It is meant to have that long arc to it. So it depends on what they're asking. If it's to keep the head in line with the spine and the heart, maybe I just didn't do that part very good. If they're asking if it lengthens into a plank, then that wouldn't be the upstretch.
That's what I had for the question, Carrie. There wasn't any more. I stated the question exactly as it was written, but I think you've just clarified it, that the head is slightly curved under, it's following the curve of the spine throughout the exercise versus a plank. It's not a plank.
Yeah. One last thought for that, the knees off that Jay was saying. Sometimes people comment like, oh my God, I just felt my legs. It's okay to feel your legs, I think you should. But the idea being that you should feel your whole body. Hopefully at that point, you're working your whole body very balanced with the whole system, rather than just powering the exercise from your legs only, or putting some pressure on yourself that you shouldn't feel them at all. I don't think that's possible. It's driven from your center, but you're on your legs. So keep that in mind as you play with those concepts, that it's the whole thing. Bodies is to work with body. Huh?
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to toss this over to Canada with Noam, on the Cadillac. I'll give him a moment if he's not ready yet. And let's make sure now we're unmuted. Can I unmute him? I can't unmute him. So that's okay. In just a moment, he will reveal himself and unmute himself. Okay, let's toss it over to Canada.
Stay.
There you are.
Mute. Hello, everyone. How are you? I'm Noam from Canada, Beyond Pilates. And this is my beautiful assistant right now, Oscar. Oscar is here with me, and he's a Pilates enthusiast. He's worked out a lot. So, but before this little guy here starts stealing the focus, he's gonna go. Thank you. Now, you may think that right now I'm going to start sounding like an advertisement, but the one thing I have to tell you, since I've got this beautiful piece of equipment, I need to speak about this. The making of it, the way the spring, when you use the push-through bar and the attachment where the springs attach, the direct connection that it demands to the body is quite phenomenal. It demands the body to connect your back into your arms and your back, your low back into your torso and so forth, instead of becoming just a one arm exercise. Another beautiful detail is those handles. Everyone comment on it. The way they're sculpted and the way they connect into your arms really helps you to find your back connection and your center. The power of those springs are unbelievable. And the gliding and all this, there's also beautiful features when you look at the attachment here of the push-through bar, just really beautiful, like old-fashioned, making look modern. There's one thing I want to talk is that if you do have this new piece of equipment, there's also a J-pack that comes, springs that also you can get. And there's something about the spring from the J-pack that is phenomenal. I'm using them here, and I'm going to use them also for the leg circles and, like everything else I'm going to be doing today. What I love about these springs, and again, they have a direct impact to your body and speaks to your body. And as a student and also as a teacher, and watching also my student practice, I find the equipment, or having good equipment that actually can help them to understand their relationship from the centers to the equipment, and also the equipment to the center of the body is crucial. And it allowed me to do what Jay keeps saying: you cannot teach Pilates. You have to create experiences. for them. And so that says, because today, welcome to the first Contrology Lab. The one thing I want to invite you is to be able to really connect the equipment and the exercise in a way that we can actually, if you're practicing right now at home or in your studio, that you can have an experience. And so what I'm about to do is the airplane. And there's a connection that we've been taught by Jay is finding your long back and your back connection. So it's a lot like the exercise that we do against the wall, but also there's a lot of exercises that come before that, like the short spine, the long spine, and so forth. So what I'll be doing today is going through the exercise, doing the exercise, because above all, you got to move to figure out what the exercise is, and then giving you some of the tips that I sometimes look for when I watch people move. So the first thing you do, you lie down, you find your position, you grab your springs, and you put your feet into. There's one thing I wanted to tell you. There's a difference, which I'm going to be using this. I was talking about the wall connection. One of the exercises that we give to our student, and we also practice ourselves, is to find our back connection, our tall back. There's an element, if you bring your arms up like this, I'll do a couple times. And what Jay taught us is that your arms comes from your back, from your seat, from your two-way stretch. And he forced me, not forced me, but he invited me to look at the double leg stretch and trying to find a way how these, in every exercises, can I teach myself, but also teach my student to find that two-way stretch. So I'm going to do it again. Now I'm going to move from my center, move my arms up and down. And again, moving from my center, arms up. And the reason why I want you to experience that in your body is that you'll notice that people push, pull, hold. Again, your arms are there to facilitate the body working. So, go back to the exercise. Find your connection. Now, again, what we're talking about is lengthening our back into the mat, into our arms. So we're not pulling, pushing. You're finding what I love about the springs is that if you go too low, you're not in your center. If you find that place for you or your student where the center is not tucked, but it's actually lengthened in both directions. You're standing into the equipment and then you use your center, reach up, and you reach out, and you bring it back. You find again where the body is working and you're using the equipment to facilitate the image of airplane. Where do you want to go? How far can you go? I'm going to do one more. And I'm going to reverse. I'll talk about it a little bit after. One more. So what I try to find in these exercises that is the student or myself, and Jay can tell me, are they pulling from their hands? Are they releasing the spring too fast? And when they're here, can they lengthen from their center the way we started? And then when you reach out, you find your tall back, your tall back, your tall back. And then when you go back up, what I'm looking for is when you reach up, like in the short spine, do you bend your knees? Or they're finding the relationship of their body to bend. So you're already prepared as you roll down to arrive to do the exercise. And then there's some fun variation because this is a fun exercise. And you can go up, you reach up, and then you can do from the center, little zigzags. And You bring yourself back. I'm going to do one more that Jay taught us, which is great, challenging nonetheless. And you notice, are the spring bouncing, or are you able to reach and use the equipment so your body can find its long two-way stretch? So these are just tips that I hope can help you to play and investigate in your own practice, and also that can help you as teachers as well to possibly, when you're looking at your students, to have various places. There's many, many more places where you can look at, but hopefully this can help you. Next exercise is, there's a relationship to it. Whoops, I'm going to move my camera because I look very right there. Let's see if that works. Jay, while I'm preparing this, is there anything that you can add to the airplane?
No, I think it's kind of amazing you were able to do what you did talking the whole time.
You know how much I do, like, but that's done since I've been with you.
It takes so much control. That was great.
Thank you. Now you find your position. Again, there's an element of your tall back, your back connection, and so you bring yourself, you reach, and you arrive. Now, what I love about this that Jay reminded us is that when you're here, you're not hanging. You're finding again that connection from your seat to your arms and the opportunity of your low legs to open that long back that we look for and long for. And then you find that connection, you reach, and then you don't push your pelvis forward. You find your tall back, reaching your two-way stretch, and bring yourself back. And what I look for is to try not to move the trapeze bar. And then you try to remind yourself to pull back and in. As you can see, there's a lot that can happen. And it's really about, what I love about these exercises is that they really teach you where you lack the integration, but more than that, because that sounds negative, more where you need to work more. And what I love about this is that the exercise and the equipment also remind you where the work needs to be. And it's not magic, it's practice. When you go to the other one, it's pull up, back. So you find your connection right away. You're connecting into your long back in your center, and then you pull in, and you go down. And what I find challenging when I do this exercise is I can't really tell if I'm moving the trapeze bar. But what I love is that just the intent of trying not to move it helps me to find my body into a two-way stretch.
You're holding it very still. That looked great.
The one thing, can I do another one? Because I felt I was thinking too much and trying to do it right. And as you said, as you just said, almost too much control. I'm going to play. Maybe. and then I always try to make sure that I practice entering the equipment from the other side and try, let's see right now if I can move and have more fun. Well, one to no shower, that's for sure. Jay, when I do this exercise, I always wonder, does the body goes like that, or it tries to go more up and down?
More up and down.
Because more up and down, because I'm never sure if I should go pull myself into a flying Superman or like a hanging, not hanging is a word, but more like a, like a back bend.
You want to be as long as you can and keep working for that, but you don't want to move horizontally.
I see. So you're saying not something like, it wouldn't be that.
No.
It would be more trying to find my two-way stretch from here and then going, oh.
Yes, so everything is going vertical and horizontal.
So hard. I love it.
It's not
I'm sorry, Jay?
not supposed to be easy.
You're right. Don't take the work away from them. Now, next exercise, I'm going to move you to a different corner.
Question.
Yes.
I have a question
Yes.
coming in. I just thought while we're on this, it says by
For
two-way
sure.
stretch. Do you mean oppositional pulls, energy in both directions when you say two-way stretch?
It is, but my understanding from Jay is that you're finding your seat, your powerhouse, that lengthens your back, while the other way is going like this. But one thing that I'm still looking for in a lot of exercises that, and Jay, correct me, but Joe told him that the work of Pilates exists in your double leg pull. And so if you can find that energy outwardly like this in every exercise, not only like this, but out and pull it in like this, then over time, the golden rule will be you're not finding rules, but you're finding deeper understandings to really help you to lengthen your body in all possible ways. Because the center is not only here, it goes like that, like that, like that, in all kind of directions. I hope that helped. And Jay, you can certainly, it's you who taught us that. Maybe it's something you want to add.
That's exactly right. It's just everything.
Oh, great.
Center in opposition.
And it's so hard. It's easy to talk about it, but it's so hard to find it, and just requires a lot of practice, patience, respect to where we're at, and acknowledging that it's about advancing through the work, not just moving through the exercises. That's what I've learned a lot anyway.
The key, what you said, is finding it, because I can't talk to anybody. They've got to find it in their own body. And that just takes practice and time.
I agree. Yeah. Anna, should I move to the next exercise?
I think you should. You had some men's exercises.
Yes, well, my inner man is a little girl, so you'll notice. It's sad but true. I honor it. So these are part of Jay's pack. So these springs, like the one that come with the Contrologies, are tiny, but I tell you, mighty. And what I love about this is that it tells you where your body right away, am I in my arms? Am I in my back? Am I in my center? Because if the timing of how you're moving is slightly off, you will fall into a lack of integration. And I love it because you don't have to look for the work. The equipment tells you where it is and where you're at. So we're gonna do right now chest expansion. And I may try, I don't know if it's a good angle, but I'll try to show you from here. And now press the arms. And I'm gonna do a variation where I'm just pushing from my arms. I'm gonna try to right now find my center, my long back, my two-way stretch. I'm gonna look to the right and back. For me, it's been such a journey, and still a journey, to be able to find, but I have to find my two-way stretch. but more so my back connection. I was always been told about my center, and through Jay and the realization that we need the whole body, not only from the front, but certainly from the back. Now, the next one, we're going to do the variation. And now you rise up. And you see right now, you can't really see my feet, and I apologize, but I'm going to try to see if I can actually move this slightly lower, and you may be able to see a little bit more what's going on in the low body. But what I love about this exercise is truly about, as you pull up, is the organization of the center and the organization of the timing of your arms. And then, like the exercise I was talking at the beginning, your wall, your tall back, your two-way stretch, and maintaining the work until you come down. And what's beautiful about this work is that it's not about quantity, but the frequency. And the frequency right now can be found in your ability to maintain the work between your reps. Oops, I missed it. So center pulls the body with the equipment. And bring yourself back. Jay, you could tell me there's always, I'm finding my back connection, but what I feel I'm really trying to find more these days is also how this connection from here goes all the way in. I find because when you teach a lot, and also from my body, I feel this part here is still a nebulous search of laboratory that, you know, and true expertise eyes like Jay. Is there anything right now, Jay, that you could actually help me to find something more, or recommend I could do more, or maybe it was good enough for today?
No, that was good. I think probably when you're teaching, we all build up tension, and you know, especially if you're doing a lot of pushing and pulling and poking.
Right.
The tension, and that's why it's important when you're finished teaching that you do something nice for yourself before you go home.
Right, you're right. Yes.
Workout, even if it's just some back bends over the barrel, something.
Yeah.
Let all of that go and take some nice deep breaths, and you know, be nice to yourself.
You'll be proud. I started to do that at the end of each day. Something which is great is starting to become part of a habit. And just to remind you, these springs, what I love about it, that they're so strong that your arms alone cannot do the work. It demands and requests the rest of your body to participate to its best ability at the level you are at and your level of integration throughout your practice. And I love the JPAC. It's taking a lot of information that I used to demand or ask or request or ask them to seek. This just takes not my job away, but their job even more clear. Now, the last one, don't laugh. This is my nemesis. So now, the lunge arms. Yes, here I go. So I struggle even with I know it's more about my arms. I lose my connection. I'm not quite sure if the legs should come back at the same time. Should it, you know, the moment if I go here and I go there, is it the leg after? Should it arrive all at the same time and come back all at the same time, Jay?
Yes, it should all be working together. I think need to put your feet into that's your foundation.
Well, maybe next Halloween I'll be better. I'll give it another shot. So again, everything you've connected against here right now is being challenged by the springs wanting to pull you back. And I find there's an element in here that is almost like your front split, you know, on the reformer, that back body, that long body where you're here, you're not there, you're finding your ground, finding. As a dancer, I find my problem is that I end up being too wide in here. And I feel if I can work more in connection, but I don't have a lot of relationship too. So I'm keep working on that, but it's not about me right now. It's trying to share some information and was that better?
It's a little better, yeah.
A little bit, right? Just a little. I can feel it. Oh.
Noam, can I ask one question? One more question
Oh,
about
please
the
do.
springs. Just to clarify, the springs that you're using, are those arm springs or those leg springs?
No, these are the J-Pack arm springs. And
Okay.
they are stronger than actually a regular leg spring.
Right.
Literally, and perhaps because they're shorter, I don't really know the logistic of but this one compared to the one that comes is a slight different. And I don't know because the coil at the top is different than the Contrology, but there's a something in those two J-Packs that I recommend that you get both, you know, because this gives you something that the other one doesn't give you. And the one thing that Jay keeps saying, it is about the work. It's about finding the work. And these demands it out of you. And I'm a humble servant to good equipment and to Jay's pack.
No,
I don't know if
those arm springs were copied from a set of springs I have from Joe's original studio. Ken crazy. He went through with all of his manufacturers and whatever to get those springs made, because those are copies of springs. Actually, I got them here. They're actually out of Joe's studio. So that's why they're
wow.
I'd like to defer to Ken since he has become a spring expert over all these years. Ken, could you speak a little bit to the springs and perhaps what went into crafting them to be just like the ones from Joe's studio?
Okay, am I off mute?
You are.
I think I am. It was just a really cool experience because Jay comes up with these springs that came from Joe's studio, and all I had to do is copy them, and that sounded like that would be pretty easy, except that it wasn't, because to make springs the way they were made, 80 years ago is really, really difficult. And so, we went to like a manufacturer that does 99% of our springs, and he just said he just couldn't do it. And it was the first time ever that he said he couldn't do it, couldn't make a spring for us. And then we went to another company and that we knew of, had a good reputation, and asked them, and they said, of course we can. And then we sent them the spring, and they said, well, we actually can't do it. And so it actually took a third company, and they came back and they said, well, we thought we could, but we really can't. And then we got our engineers talking directly with their engineers and directly with the people that actually made the springs on the front line. And that was finally when we came out with that spring that could actually duplicate the one that Jay had. And it was, I'm making it kind of easy, but it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of no, it's impossible, but yes, we can. No, it's impossible, yes, we can. And finally we came up with it. And that was the most challenging spring we had to duplicate.
Wow,
I'm
thank you
grateful.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
But you did it, and you did a great job.
Well, thanks. It's all about tenacity and persistence and just not giving up. And when people tell you they can't do something, that doesn't really mean that they can't do it.
Wow. Okay, I think we're gonna head to Los Angeles, right here where I am with Shimoda. Woohoo! Come on, Sandy.
Are we on? Are we live?
Yes.
Hi, everybody. Well, first,
Hi.
I want to say hi. I just want to say it's so wonderful and such an honor to be in this laboratory setting. What I really like about it is I love Carrie and Noam and the way that they brought us into finding these exercises and making the equipment pertinent to that process. I love having Ken here, who has created all this equipment, and Jay, who's the one who's really taught us all of this work in our bodies and has has had the luxury of having a team of people that help him bring this equipment that help us to do better work. So I'm super grateful. And today I get to work with you on two really wonderful pieces of equipment that will especially help you with your back connection. I'm going to work on the armchair, the new armchair from Contrology, and the Ped-o-Pul. So let's start with the armchair. And if you have not seen this armchair before, I just want to walk through it really quickly. First of all, it has those handles that Noam talked about. And what's special about these handles, I'm going to have a little zoom in on that so you can see them, is that they fit right into the hand here. But also, as Carrie was talking about, the importance of the wrist being long in order to have that connection into the back when she was doing the upstretch. This handle will rotate as your arm moves so that you can maintain that long wrist. And you're going to see that. I'm going to do some exercises where you can see that. It has a wonderful spring. Again, as Ken was talking about, I could never tell you, I know Karen Frischman could, but why this spring is so perfectly calibrated to connect me into my own body. What I feel is that there's a consistent resistance as I work. I don't feel like it's getting harder or making me work into my shoulders more when I'm trying to do the exercises. So I love that about it. The padding, if you've tried the reformer from the Contrology, it has that same firm padding. And what that means is it gives me so much feedback about the alignment and symmetry of my body, both on the seat as well as on the spine. And then finally, you may have seen that we have an adjustment here to the setting of the back. Many of the chairs, classical chairs you get now, are at this more upright setting. We have a board here that you can remove. You place it in, okay, to the back slot, and it allows you to go to the setting that Jay's chair is. And this is a chair that is similar to what he used when he was in Joe's studio, which has a greater angle. And I'm going to take you through an exercise so that you can see how that difference plays on the body. It's really important. But what it does for us as teachers is it gives us the option, you know, depending on the body that we have in front of us, whether we're going to do this setting or we're going to do the other setting. And that you can make the choice depending on the exercise as well. So what a wonderful thing to be able to have that choice for the body that comes into the room. So I'm going to start with the upright setting. And I'm going to take a really simple exercise that connects you to the back. So Carrie and Noam both did some very difficult exercises. And as you know, it takes a little work to progress the body to be able to get there. So the armchair is a great place to start. It gives your client all of that nice ability to connect. So as I press my feet together, that engages my seat and allows me to find my back long on the chair. The stomach is pulling in and up. And I'm going to start with the hug. So the hug is a breathing exercise. So you inhale, and as you exhale, you empty all the air out, 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 out. Inhale. And I'm going to do a couple and just not talk so that I can really get all the air out of my lungs. Oh, that felt so good. I couldn't really do that while I was talking, but I hope you were able to see that with each repetition, I was able to use the equipment to get more height, more length in my spine, or to coordinate my breath or exhale more of my breath out. And then you can see how the center of the body connects. This is really important information in order to progress you into more difficult exercises. But it's also very important just for seated posture for your clients. So let's take a look at what happens when we change the setting of the chair on the same exercise. This is fun.
Andy, can I just ask you about the springs? Are those the springs that came with the chair, or is it a different spring, just to be clear?
That came with the chair.
Okay, thank you.
Do you guys sell a separate spring, a different spring?
I know that people could buy that spring. I'm not sure if there's a separate one, but I was just asked that question of what the spring was.
Okay. Well, as far as I know, that's the only one you have, but let me know. I want to try it. We're in the laboratory. Okay, so just notice how my body looks different when I have that angle. I find that this can be a nice position for people who have a tendency to clench their hip flexors when they're sitting upright. And sometimes even people who have a large belly, they're able to connect, lengthen, and lift into the chair more in this position. So take a look at my body as I do the hug here. For some reason, I can really feel, I'm just telling you what I'm observing in my own body since I'm playing student and teacher. I can really feel the shoulder blades moving on the backing more in this position because with gravity, I'm weighted and actually standing on my shoulder blades a bit. So I can manage the symmetry of the way my shoulder blades open and close to move my arms and my back. Love it. Now, once you get somebody and you want to challenge them with the hug, there's a wonderful version. Wait a minute, I have to rest. My back is tired. Let me just, before I go into the next version, I didn't really break this down. The hug is a very basic exercise, but a couple things I do want to say. You want to have the elbows soft and you want to have the hands in front of the shoulders, but at shoulder height. The head, especially when you're on the angle, and if you're doing this with me, some people find it difficult to know where to put the head. You just want it to be where it feels natural on the spine, okay? It's not a very specific position. And this position for me feels like there's no tension and I can just be tall. Okay, so for this next version of the hug, it's still a breathing exercise. So you're gonna start with your inhale. And then on the exhale, you pick that chair up, bring it with you, exhale and reach down towards the feet, and then inhale to come back up. Now on this one, even more than the others, it usually takes me a little while to coordinate that. So I'm going to have to stop talking again so that I can figure it out. There's a lot of things at play here.
Ken, can I ask you about the spring question, since Sandy did ask me the question of, is there a different spring that goes with that chair? Is there, or is it this just what comes with it and that's it? He's nodding no. You're on mute, but that's okay. I see you. He's saying no. So she's using the springs that come with the chair, and those are the ones that are available, although they are sold separately. Should someone want those springs, but there's not a different set of springs for the chair.
And they're really perfect. So don't do any other ones. They're perfect, just the way they are. Okay, so Jay, anything else you want to add to the hug exercises before I go on to Swakate?
No, I think you covered it.
Okay, all right. So let's move on to the Swakate, which I think is a great exercise to cover because most of us can't do it on the reformer well. But the exercises, this series of exercises are so important to building that back connection that Noam referred to and that Carrie referred to, because it works the back in so many different ways and in so many different directions so that you learn how to move the arms from the back. So you want to start kneeling on the chair. I prefer this position of my legs because it gives me a chance to get my hips very symmetrical. So I have the closer leg kneeling down and then the front leg in front of it. I want to make sure that you're not so close to the chair that you're leaning into it. Because one thing that Jay taught us that I was really surprised at is that you actually do want the chair to move. So if you are leaning against it, it's not going to move. And then for this series, I just remembered I want to do the series with the first setting, with the more upright position, because you still have a challenge. The chair will still move, but the back setting is a greater challenge, which you can move up to. So let's start with this more upright setting. Get your low body completely connected so you could stand on your own strongly. And then the other arm that is not working the handle is just in a place where it's not in the way. For me, I feel comfortable just resting it on the back of the chair. And we're going to start with the first Swakate. You want the elbow lifted and the shoulder in the back. And with this wrist long, this is where it gets really important to keep the wrist long. You want to pull across the body. And that handle will rotate beautifully in my hand with each pull. And when I go to the other side, you'll get a chance to see my back. I'm doing a couple letting the chair move. The first few I did not, but you can also let the chair move and come with you. Okay, the second one, opposite arm. Again, this arm, just where it's not in the way. Hips are square, body is strong. And this arm is going to go reaching up into that handle. And for me, the hardest thing is to keep my arm connected into my shoulder because I'm kind of flexible in the shoulder. And sometimes the arm actually pops out and around. That's what it feels like in my back. But Swakate helps me to build that connection. And the next one is a combo of the first two. And again, I'm just putting the non-working arm in a place where it's not in the way, and I can keep my symmetry without getting in the way of the movement. I think that was 5. Okay, now on this one, I am going to secure the chair. So in the upright position, my arm is different if I have the further back setting, but on the upright position, I like to just rest my forearm on the top of the chair. And here, it's really important for me to keep this arm connected down into the shoulder. And again, I'm going to leave my elbow and pull up into the back of the hand. Ah, feels good. It's such a stretch. Up. And I'm feeling the movement in the back every time I pull. Up. Keeping that nice long wrist. I'm going to do one big circle. I just love how this exercise puts my arm in my back so nicely. Okay, and then lotus. So here you'll get to see the chair move a little bit. And the more I move from my back, wow, that was amazing. Can't believe it came that smoothly. The more smoothly the back of the chair will move. I have to really focus when I do this particular exercise or I lose control of that back. You might have seen it bounce just now. And it's such a finite connection to find. But when you find it, you'll feel your whole body really responding to that connected, lifted control. Okay, other side. And
Candy, on the question, may I ask a question that came up? So when you were doing, just prior to this exercise, the question came through and said, would you start exercise with the chair more upright, or does it really depend on the chair?
would you start the exercise with it upright?
Meaning, I guess, the back being more upright, or does it really depend on the chair?
Okay, let me see if I'm
Maybe when you do side two, you could show us. If you turn around, show your back and maybe show the chair position.
Yes, I will. As I'm doing side two, though, I also wanted to invite Jay to add anything he wants to say about Swakate as I'm watching my back move. And then when I get to that exercise, then I can address that question about the chair.
And Sandy, just for clarification, it might be my lack of vision. Does it depend on the client? So is the chair more upright, or does it depend on the client where that back position is of the chair?
Okay.
So either Sandy or Jay, if you can kind of address that.
Well, it's always going to depend on the client, Anna.
Okay. Thank you.
So I hope you're able to see my back movement.
This looked very good on the first side, Sandy. The one thing that you're doing beautifully that I wish you would emphasize is the fact that there are no moving parts in the wrist.
Okay.
That's the biggest mistake I see people making with this exercise. They either pull from their elbow, like they're on the subway in New York poking somebody, from the wrist opening out, and the wrist never, ever, ever changes.
And that takes focus, but when you keep that wrist really strong, it allows this handle and spring to connect directly to my back. So it's worth it. Do it. And the combo. I always love when I'm teaching, getting the back view of my clients on the Swakate, because it gives me so much information about how each side is working. And I know Jay often watches me and says, your two sides are completely different from one another. So the challenge is really different on each side for me. Okay, I think this is the exercise that the question is about, right, Anna?
I believe so, yeah. So really, but Jay said it does depend on the client, but perhaps you could just clarify where, for you, the back of the chair is.
Okay, so I was explaining on the other side that for this one exercise only, I keep the chair in place because I'm giving a little weight I'm putting a little bit of weight onto that arm and stabilizing the chair so that I can get the movement in my back. Maybe you can see that better on this side. So if the chair were moving, it would be hard for me to keep stable and get that kind of circular action. It feels like a semicircle in my back. Circle. So it is in the upright setting, but I'm not allowing it to move. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Ooh, this side has a harder time controlling. Very interesting. But as Carrie and Noam were demonstrating to you, for all of us, we're always exploring. We're never coming into our workouts thinking, I'm going to do this perfectly. I have nothing to learn. It's all going to work. I'm actually always looking for what's working and what's not, and then going further with that and giving my body what it needs. And oftentimes, things on the armchair are great for addressing the things that I need because of I have a little bit of scoliosis, and the way that my arms work in my back on the two sides is very different. So I love a one-sided exercise, and I love an armchair. And don't underestimate the difficulty and the value of this chair. I don't even call it the baby chair personally anymore, because the baby chair makes it sound like it's easy. or for babies. And this chair, I didn't do very many of the difficult ones on this chair, but it can really work even your strongest clients, and they all need it because it points out to them where they're disconnecting on the more difficult exercises and gives them a chance to correct it on their own. So I feel like that's pretty complete on the armchair, Jay. Anything else you want to say?
Not at the moment. I think you did a great job with it.
Thank you. It's easy. This piece of equipment is so wonderful. We just did a chairs and barrels weekend, which was 12 hours on all of the chairs and barrels. And I got to demonstrate for, I don't know, a couple hours. And my body felt great after doing all the exercises.
Well, I love the chair because it works for, I mean, you're 88-year-old lady with a double hip replacement. There's tons of stuff you can do with her. I can make a Marine cry on this chair. The range of exercises is just amazing. And that's, to me, one of the greatest things about it. You also have total access to the body. So I love to get in there and poke and push and twist, so you can really do it here.
Yeah. Jay, I'd like to ask you a question specifically. So I have a message here. A viewer saw the armchair on our last Contrology event and purchased one, and would love for Jay to talk about the background of the chair, because some people call it the old lady chair. So Sandy just said baby chair, which is what I learned, but the old lady chair, and that the springs are the lightest, according to the message I'm getting. This woman is using the Reiner Grutenhaus chair manual to start her chair work, but is not sure she agrees with the old lady chair assessment. Do you have any light you could shed on the chair and its background?
I'm the guilty one who started calling it the old lady chair. One day, I can't believe that that's out there and people are still doing that, because it is great for little old ladies. Like I said, you're 88-year-old with a double hip replacement. You can give her a full workout on there. I remember Ken Kretsch, who was just brilliant, had a client who was well into his 90s with tons and tons of issues. And Ken was brilliant at figuring out how to work with him. And I looked over one day, and this client was not able to get down there on the chair. He never would have gotten back up. Ken put the chair on top of the reformer box to raise the chair so this client could get into it, and was doing wonderful, wonderful things with him. And I just stood there in awe, because I thought, this is a brilliant Pilates teacher, using his head, not changing the work, but finding a way to make the work accessible for this 90-some-year-old man. And it was beautiful to see. It was wonderful. So, the range of the chair is just extraordinary.
Thank you for that colorful answer. What about, I'm getting another question here asking about two questions. One is, are chair exercises good for pregnant women? Specifically, the first chair exercise Sandy did, chest hug. Is it good for a pregnant woman? Thank you.
Everybody is different. Every pregnancy is different. I mean, first of all, always, the doctor has the first say. If a doctor says you cannot do this or be careful, fine. Listen to the doctor. And then beyond that, it's what does mom say? How does she feel about it? I have had pregnant women. I mean, I remember one, this was a number of years ago. She was with me at 10 o'clock in the morning doing a full advanced reformer and gave birth at 3 o'clock that afternoon. This was kind of an exception. Some people end up, they're on bed rest for the last 3 months of their pregnancy. So you have to know what her doctor is telling her. You have to know what her body is telling her, because she knows better than you do. And listen to her, And if she says, oh, this feels great, good, do it. If she says, this doesn't feel quite right, stop. So it's always, there's got to be a dialogue between you, so that you're always on top of it. but it's never going to be the same for everybody. So
It's like you've said before, Jay, teach the body in front of you, right? And so that body is telling you whatever they're telling you that on that particular day, how they're feeling. Yeah.
exactly. But in the case of pregnancy, I mean, again, there's a doctor involved. And whether you agree with that doctor or not, that's who's taking care of this mama. And you have to go along with whatever that doctor is saying. So if that doctor is saying, you know this, okay, know that. For some pregnant women, it's very, very difficult to lie flat on their back for any length of time. I've seen others that just could care less. I mean, they're perfectly fine with it. So it's going to depend. And even the same woman, if this is now her second or third pregnancy, it can be a whole different experience from what she's done before. So you can't take anything for granted with pregnancy. It's just
I'm chuckling here, Jay, as I watch you, because you're sitting there talking about what the doctor says and recognizing and respecting doctors, and you look like a doctor right now with your coat on. I thought that was funny. I do have another question about additional resources for the armchair. Either Sandy or Jay, if you could speak to, if you know of anything accessible for people to, learn more about the armchair and how to use it.
Wigan is a whiz with the armchair. She has a video. I don't know where it's available, but she has a video out. And I don't know if she may have done something for Pilatesology on the chair, but she's a whiz with it because she had, I can't remember, I think she was in an accident or something. This is going back a lot of years, and did a lot of rehab on the chair. So she learned millions of things on there.
Did you say Mijo? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Mijo Wigan.
Okay, great. I'll see if I can get that resource for people. Thank you very much, Jay. And then there was a question here, two things. One is a comment, and maybe Sandy, you could speak to this. We do have a wedge that we've made for Contrology to work with the armchair. For example, when you were doing Swakati and you made a choice to put one foot on the floor because if not, your hips wouldn't be level. We do make a wedge, and I don't know if you have one or if maybe you could speak to how that might work in the chair.
Sure. Before I answer that, I just want to add one more resource for you. Pilatesology also has a lot of, I know that Jay and I have both taught, and many great teachers have taught versions of exercises on the armchair too. So that's a good place to look. Okay, so as far as the wedge, I don't have a wedge. I didn't get one from you, but I have used a wedge before with James Crane's armchair, which is lovely. For me personally, the wedge, I don't prefer to use the wedge. First of all, it usually does not allow the backing to move because it will slide down and it'll actually hold it in place. So I don't have that play that I like to use for information and control. And then secondly, I'm on the small side. And when it raises up, for some reason, I guess I'm further away slightly, the spring is much, it's more engaged. So I can't even hold on to my natural position to start. I have to, in the first Swakate, for example, I actually have to start way over here. And then I have to pull through the back and over. So for me, I prefer without. But I would like to try your wedge. I don't have it.
Let me see what I can do, my friend.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sure we can make that happen. I had another question, and I'm not sure if I'm clear on it, but perhaps when I say it, it will be clear to one of you. Can all chair exercises be done with either back position? And I'm not sure. Either back position?
Either
they mean
right or the second position back.
Perhaps. So maybe you could speak to that, Sandy.
Yes, they can. It's very.
The answer is yes.
The answer is yes. So just imagine that when Jay, this is based off of Jay's chair, which doesn't have the first setting. So Jay has always done all of the exercises in the second setting, which is further back. And then you can also do it with the more upright positioning as well. And I really encourage you, all of you, to try it. Really try, because it's not about right or wrong so much as it feels different. It feels different when it's upright. The challenge is different. The way you move, the way you need to access your center is different than when it's back. You get so much more information than I could ever articulate in words by just doing it, or by just putting your people on here and going, oh, that doesn't look right. Let me try them in this setting. There it is, you know? So again, that lab approach that we're using is always going to be great because it puts you in the mindset that it depends on the client. And even for your pregnant person, you're going to try it. I would probably guess that the second setting would be more comfortable for them. It gives them space through the front of their body, but you'll see. So explore. I just encourage you to explore. Okay.
Thank you. Well, I think on that note, we're going to wrap up this first ever Contrology Lab. And I wanted to thank everyone, those participating now, those participating on demand, our esteemed panelists, our instructors, Sandy Shimoda, Carrie Shanafelt, and Noam Gagnon, and of course, CEO Ken Endelman and Jay Grimes. If you are watching this live right now, you will get an email later today with the recording. If you want to know anything more about Contrology, please visit contrology.pilates.com. We have our Cadillac, armchair, Ped-o-Pul, as well as reformer. We have the airplane board, the neck stretcher, and coming very soon, I believe, and Ken could chime in if he wants to. Up next will be our reformer with tower and other things coming after that. He's nodding, yes, I am correct. Yes. There are more things in the works, and things that you've requested of there specifically are definitely being built and designed and tested right now. So please stand by. Again, it's contrology.pilates.com. I am your host and brand ambassador for Contrology, Anna Caban. Thanks for joining us so much, and we hope to see you at our next event.